Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I will be talking about the best movie moments from films in 2018. To qualify for this list, these moments are just simply little things scattered throughout the film. They could be a line that a character gives, or a little moment of a performance that is caught, or just a great piece of editing, or a great lighting moment. It can be something that consistently shows up throughout the film, but it always has to stay as a small little fraction of the film. It's not an entire scene, it's not an entire character, it's not an entire proportion of the movie. There are 15 moments from the 25 films that I saw that I wanted to consider for this list, and similarly, I wanted to only include one moment from each film. Starting from the bottom and going to the top, number 15 is the coming out straight moment from Love, Simon. Number 14 is the line, first time, from Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Number 13 is the pushed moment from Revenge. Number 12 is the family connecting moments from A Quiet Place. Those are one of those moments where it's scattered throughout the film. The moments where the family is just connecting, saying I love you. The prayer moment where they're all holding hands. Those are moments that I'm talking about. Number 11 is Finding Your White Voice from Sorry to Bother You. Number 10 is the childhood animations scattered throughout Won't You Be My Neighbor. Number 9 is the character moments of crisis from Paddington 2. These are when the father is going through his crisis or expressing the things he's been doing outside to, like his yoga, and it's the moments where the wife is examining things in her detective style, like the adventure book she's been writing. Number 8 is Accepting the Shimmer from Annihilation. And number 7 is the floor moment from You Were Never Really Here. The reason I decided to make this a top 6 video is because of this one moment in general. And it is Killmonger's final line to T'Challa from Black Panther. At the end of the film, when Killmonger has been stabbed and mortally wounded by T'Challa, T'Challa says that they can try to heal him and try to save his life, because he doesn't want him to die. But Killmonger says that he won't let that happen. He is going to just die because he knows that he will just be a prisoner. And this is the reasoning that he gives to T'Challa, the one request he gives to him at the end of the film. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from ships, because they knew death was better than bondage. That one line is one of the biggest encapsulators of Killmonger's character, showing us that even in the final moments, Killmonger still believes himself to be a slave to his own situation, a man who, his feelings of culture are not built in Wakanda. It is built in the idea of the African American who suffered at the hands of white oppression. That feeling is carried with him even in death. And it is a moment of nobility, it is a moment of tragedy, it is a moment of realization as well for T'Challa. The number 5 moment is another moment that is scattered throughout the entire film, and they are the viral video conversations that Kayla has with herself, or the ones that she shares with on the internet throughout 8th grade. These moments at first were just a very big moment of like myself laughing, because I've started to get into the whole viral video creating, and now here's a character who's doing the same thing and doing the whole, oh, I'm so embarrassed, trying to deliver an insightful line, and she's only a teenager, and she's trying to say things that sound poignant for people and going Gucci. But on an objective stance, what I noticed about these scenes are 2 things. The first one I'll notice is just a small little detail which I love, is that we never see the number of views that Kayla has. That would be a sign that the first thing we would look at, because the first thing that we care about is a person relevant to our society? If you have more views, you're more relevant. If more people see you, then we will listen to you. Bo Burnham wisely does not show us that element, because if we see a 10-view video or maybe even a 100-view video, that is going to make us consider Kayla on a level or a scale of relevancy. If she had 5 million views, of course we'd listen to her. But if she had like 3 or something, we'd be like, oh, well, what value does she have? We wouldn't listen to what she's saying. And the second point that I have for this, if we listen to what she's saying, what she is expressing in those videos are messages that she's trying to say for herself. She talks about a moment of taking on confidence, a moment where you need to break out of your bubble, because she's a very introverted person, and yet she says, I'm going to step out of my bubble, and you got to try to be confident with yourself and all these things. And then we see a scene where she's doing that, where she's stepping out of her bubble, where she's taking on that level of expressing herself. What makes those moments of the video so great is that they become more resonant when we realize the character is living by what they say. It's a matter of practice what you preach. And Kayla is not just somebody who says something on videos just for the sake of relevancy. She wants to say these things because she feels they have a strong impact on herself personally, because she wants people to know that she's living these experiences as she's talking about them. And that makes her a better protagonist. It makes her more of an interesting and active character. And it becomes one of those things where we feel that those videos are not just necessarily a thing that she's just doing for the heck of it. It feels like there's a genuine level of something being gained for her while she's sharing her thoughts and feelings. Now, number 4 is the step scene from Creed 2. This is one of those moments where if you are a real Rocky fan, you really understand the severity of them. You might think, well, those viral videos seem like they're such an important part of 8th grade. Why would you put those below just a simple shot of seeing the Russians on the steps of Philadelphia? Why would you do that? Because it's a simple shot of the Russians on the steps of Philadelphia. If you've seen any Rocky film up to this point, you know that the only people that have been on those steps have been Rocky, Adonis, Rocky's son, Rocky with his son, and Rocky with his dog one time. You know that no antagonist has really been on those steps. The closest we kind of got was when Clubber Lang was there at the statue ceremony, but he was in a crowd of people. That was a moment where everyone was on those steps. There was no sacredness with them. When the Russians are simply on those steps, they are not only just taking on the iconography of Rocky, what those steps signify for the character, the idea of taking on a challenge and overcoming something and facing the world that you've got ahead of you. They are making that statement that they are going to take this land, they are going to take Adonis down, and they're going to take back what has been taken away from them. Seeing that moment, my breath was gone from this scene. But considering it for the entirety of just the whole Rocky franchise in general, it is a huge moment and something that established more sinisterness than any moment in the Rocky films up to this point, possibly next to the killing of Apollo Creed himself. It pushes the antagonists from just simple bad guys to conquerors. The number 3 moment on this list is the moments between Tony Stark and Peter Parker throughout Infinity War. Now, I did not include the fading scene on my best list for 2018, but then I considered what makes that scene actually so great, and it has to do with the relationship between Peter Parker and Tony Stark. The thing that has been circulating throughout the internet is that line of, I don't want to go. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. That was a moment of that became a meme, but that resonated with so many people. And it's because throughout the whole film, Peter Parker and Tony Stark, even in Homecoming, their relationship has been one of the strongest relationships in the entire Avengers canon. It's a very much like a father, son, uncle, nephew kind of relationship. They have so much care for each other, and Tony has seen just how much Peter wants to be a superhero, and Peter wants to impress Mr. Stark and to prove himself. And here he is in the fading moment, and Tony Stark sees the boy that he has mentored, the boy he has stood up for, the boy he knows wants to prove himself, the boy that defied his actions and challenged him. He sees him going away, and he feels it's his fault, and there's nothing he can do about it. That consideration, that knowledge that this boy that you stood up for and that you cared for and is now leaving, and you have to stay, that feeling of just utter emotional just tragedy and just brokenness comes from the fact that we know Tony feels guilty for everything from this his friend that is now gone. That without those moments throughout the film, that fading scene just kind of happens. Sure, it is emotionally resonant, kind of. But it's a gut puncher when we lose Spider-Man and when Tony's left alone. Now, moment number 2 is another line reading moment, and it is from Hereditary. As said before, there are a lot of great scenes in Hereditary, and there are a lot of great moments in Hereditary. The one I was almost considering for this film was the moment where Peter is lying in bed, just not saying a word, and letting Annie see her daughter's body without a head. But I decided to go with the moment in this line, and in this scene. And the scene that I'm talking about is the sleepwalking scene from Hereditary. Annie has woken up and she sees ants crawling all around her bedroom, walking down the hallway, and she follows those ants to her son's bedroom, and she looks in horror while these ants are eating out her son's eyes and festering inside of their body and crawling all around her bed, and she's staring in terror. And then all of a sudden you hear Peter's voice. It's kind of startled seeing her, and just seeing her standing over her bed with a terrified look. And then he tells her that she's sleepwalking, and she's confused. And then he says, "Why are you scared of me?" And Annie just looks at him, and he looks at her. It cuts back to Annie, and then she says calmly and coolly, "I never wanted to be your mother," and covers her mouth. Peter says, "Why?" Annie, "I was scared. I didn't feel like a mother, but she pressured me." The she's referring to is her mother. Peter said, "Then why did you have me?" Annie says, "It wasn't my fault. I tried to stop it." Peter, "How?" "I tried to have a miscarriage." Peter asks how. Annie says, "However I could." That line, "I tried to have a miscarriage," is the moment in the theater everyone around me went. I was expecting her to say that I tried to have an abortion. The word miscarriage, however, is even heavier. It is a more negative word than abortion, because a miscarriage signifies that your baby inside of you had died by either bad nutrition, just it bled inside of you, it died some way. It died inside of you. When she says, "I tried to have a miscarriage," that means she tried to abuse her body in such a way that she could have killed the baby inside of her. Now she's saying, "I tried to have a miscarriage," and she says, "however I could." So she was probably drinking, she was probably falling down steps, she was probably slamming her belly into a door. We don't know what she was doing, but these are the things that fill our minds when we consider what that line means. Now, let alone the moment of saying, "I never wanted to be your mother," is already heavy enough, because this scene has happened after the dinner scene, so we know their relationship is already screwed up. But when we know that, when we understand that, and upon rewatching as well, I was scared, I didn't feel like a mother, but she pressured me. We understand why she pressured her daughter, because they need a human host, they need a male human host for the creation of this demon king. We understand all of that. Again, this is a movie that is filled with rich moments like that if you pay attention to the language. But that one word, miscarriage, and listening to the conversation is what makes this such a rich scene. And then there's the moment later where we realize she's still dreaming, where they are both in paint thinner, and then there's a fire lit. Pure terror, and then this sets up, and then Peter's screaming, "You tried to kill me." The reason I'm saying this so monotone is because for me to get to the emotional place that the characters deliver this line, you are going to see a mess, because this is the kind of thing that demands commitment, and both Alex Wolff and Toni Collette go to the places they need to. It's a beautiful moment. It's a horrifying moment of opening up, of being confused, of being curious. It's a perfect moment. And that one word is the best moment of all in that scene. Now, having said that, there is one moment that was better than that. I know it sounds weird to say, but it is the only moment that almost inspired this list for this year. And it's the only moment where everything just changed. And it is from A Star Is Born. And it's the final cut, I should say second final cut of the movie before the end credits happen. It is during Allie's song, I'll Never Love Again. She's singing in tribute to her husband Jackson, who has killed himself because he believes that he is in the way of Allie furthering her career. Allie is singing the song in front of a group of people, so many people, in front of a huge orchestra. She's dressed extravagantly, and she's singing, and Lady Gaga gives an amazing performance while she sings this song, and she's singing it, and we feel the loss that she has just faced, we feel the pain, we feel the joy that she's had with this man, we feel all of that. And then the song is building up in this beautiful moment where she goes, I don't want to feel another touch, don't want to start another fire, won't let another day begin, baby, won't let the sunlight in, don't, and as she's hitting that climax, cut to Jackson singing the song to her on their piano at their home. Allie is an observer to Jackson singing it to her. There's so much more power in that scene than there would have been if Allie had just sung the song herself. On the soundtrack, when she sings that climax, it's great, but it's not as powerful. There's something missing from it, and that quality that's missing is that cut. This is also my favorite moment of the year, but because when I saw it, I was crying during the ending of the film, but when that cut happened, I just closed my eyes, fell back, and I ugly cried for 4 minutes. So personally, it has a huge effect on me, but also seeing it through an objective lens of the film, we are reminded at the end of the day what this movie is about, and it was always about the relationship between Allie and Jackson, how music was this thing that they shared, and how they communicated with each other through music. And she's confessing to her love that she's never going to love someone like him. She's never going to love again. It's a perfect ending to the film and closing out these characters' lives and remembering that Jackson will always, always be with her and always be that thing behind what she's singing. It's that he will always be that thing behind the words. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you guys hearing my thoughts on the best moments of 2018. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Share with your friends, and as always, take care.